please use gloves, especially, okay, with the Cody James rasp. I don't want you guys picking up that rasp unless you have hand protection on, okay? It's an incredible rasp, and I love it, but this is another reason why you start with the fine blade too, okay? But do wear gloves, absolutely. A lot of people ask me what gloves I'm wearing, and this is them. They're very thin, but I like them because it feels like I can still feel my fingers, like I still have some tactile abilities in them, and that's important for me because I'm feeling the hoof with my hands and my fingers, and someday you will begin to develop that feel with your hands as well. Of course, anytime you can get pretty colored gloves in the Atlas, those are the ones I recommend because they are more fun. Okay, and also those can be washed. I wash them several times before they're toast, so that's really nice. Now, some people might prefer a thicker glove, and especially if you are hitting your hands at all, you know, wear a glove that you feel is going to protect you from that Cody James rasp. And then as you get more savvy, you may find you can move to like a thinner type of glove. Okay. Then over here, these are knee pads. I use knee pads because I often, especially if you have a mini, but even the standards, when they're doing really good for you, I like to do the kneeling. I call it like the proposal kneel, you know, and then their hoof is sitting on your leg. Anyways, I find that a nice pair of knee pads are a valuable tool for trimming with donkeys and also senior horses, anytime that you need to kneel down. And then this little guy down here is the Speedy Sharp. And yes, I am not the queen of sharpening anything. So the Speedy Sharp makes for mediocre, adequate hoof knife sharpening. It's gotten me by all these 15 years. We'll get more into hoof knives soon, which is my least favorite tool, by the way. But this is just kind of a little miscellaneous. And then down here, this is from Easy Care, and that is a hoof pick with a really nice stiff wire brush. And I mean, depending on where you and your burro are at and your hoof care handling, right, you may only be able to get by with brushing with just a softer brush. But, you know, if you're getting pro status and your donkey stands like a champ, and maybe you'll move up to the wire brush. But again, if you're touching this wire brush, you need to have gloves on. Not so much with these guys. You know, these are relatively safe tool that you could use without wearing any gloves, but these wire brushes are pretty intense. And again, you would use it just on the hard parts of the hoof to knock off mud. You'll see me in some videos eventually kind of demonstrating all of this. So the hoof pick and the wire brush, classic, necessary tools to have in your kit. So you guys may notice that I rarely wear my shaps. We're looking at shaps right over here. One of the reasons why I don't wear them is because I've noticed that when I come to meet new donkeys and things, they're usually scared of my shaps. And I play the I'm not a farrier game. I like to show up and I don't want them to know that I'm a farrier yet. So I don't come rolling in, throw on my stuff and carry all my gear out because the donkeys are like, oh, hell no. The farrier's here, and then they go pew. So I learned a while back that you got to show up like you're not a farrier. But anyways, if you would like to wear shaps, they are super protective. They hurt my hips a little bit depending on what kind they are because they're kind of heavy, but they are very cool. You put them on, you know, and if you really want to get into like I'm a owner trimmer now and you want to really, you know, get into character, you might like to have a nice pair of shaps. One of the things that I do instead of wearing them is I'll often wear a thicker pant, like a Carhartt pant that has a little top over the thighs, but they definitely serve a good purpose. They're going to protect your clothes from the tools. If your clothes aren't thick enough, like especially if it's really hot where you're at and you're maybe wearing shorts while working, no, then you're definitely going to want to have a pair of shaps on. So they're going to protect your legs, your body, right? And then some of them, like these pair, which I thought were kind of cute, you'll see there's a ring there. So they're sliding their nippers through. There's pockets for your hoof knife. There's a place for your rasp to hang. And so that kind of keeps all your tools on you nearby, which can be very convenient. So again, if you've got just a donkey that's really advanced and isn't afraid of anything yet anymore, you know, just kind of just depends on where you're at, then this could be really great for you to go in and out with wearing. And again, you know, you pop them on and you feel cool. They're very fun. And they come in a lot of different brands. And that's another thing. Sorry, guys. Everything that I'm going to show you today is there's going to be like an economy version, right? You want to get the entry level, decent tool that's going to be good. And let me tell you right off the bat, your feed store and Tractor Supply, they don't have the entry level tool that you need. Diamond and some of the brands that are sold just like what I call like over the counter at the feed store, they tend to really not be good enough. So I'm going to be introducing you to the Economy Hoof Nipper. It's a really good brand. That's coming up next. Okay, moving on. This thing right here, this is called the Farrier's Friend, or Farrier Friendly. This is called the Weekender, so it's a little lightweight, and then they have a more sturdy one. But as you can see, and I like this one for donkeys, because as you can see, it just straps to your leg, and you can just kind of have your hands free and just come walking in, and you know, it's kind of down low on your leg. I just feel like it's kind of fun and it's not as obvious. Anyways, someone might enjoy trying that out. I've tried the heavier dutier one and I didn't like it so much, so I think I'm going to try the Weekender. And if you're into leather making, you know, some things, these things can be made too. You can, you can have fun and make something. Okay, and so, but what's cool about that particular setup is your tools fold up in it and get stored in it too. So it kind of doubles as a holder and storage. Same thing with your shaps. People will just wrap their shaps up around their tools, and then that kind of cares for them. And you'll see that I most often keep my tools in a bucket, but again, that's because I'm going to see little donkeys that are, you know, scared of the farrier, and I'm doing my sneak attack. So one of the other things that comes in buckets, you guys, is food. Okay, so when I show up, they're a little leery of me, but they go, she has a bucket. Wonder what's in the bucket. They can't help themselves. I'm telling you what, they want to know what's in the bucket. Even if they pretend like at first they don't want to know what's in the bucket, they actually really do want to know. So that gets their curiosity for me. And it's easy to carry. And I just pop all my stuff in there and have snacks. And I do that with these little flexible fun buckets, I call them, because I love colors. Or you can go with a 5-gallon bucket. Okay, hoof nippers. Here we go. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty, you guys. This is where we're getting into the really, well, expensive stuff. Okay, your nippers are going to be like your pride and joys. Okay, when you do invest in these, I want you to think about it. And I have these listed, 3 top brands right here. Okay, we have the GEs. Okay, GE is like the cream of the crop. They are the top of the line, and they are upwards of $260 for a pair, just FYI, and they're worth every penny. You get to choose. The Lopez is going to come in just a little under the GEs, and they are another incredible brand, high dollar. Now, Nordic Forge is my favorite entry level brand. You can get a pair of semi-polished nippers from them in the 10, 12, 14, or 15 for like $98 to $130. Okay, the Nordic Forge, you're going to get they're the entry-level brand that I really love, okay? And like, what did I say? Like $98 to like $130 for a pair of those in the semi-polished. That's another thing. If you look at these GEs over here to the right of the screen, those are full polished, fancy, beautiful. Like, they're an incredible tool. But you can get away with the semi-polished. The Nordic forges are going to be great. Now, let's talk about sizes. 10 and 12 inches are going to be small, okay? Just like they say, they're just a foot and under in length, okay? Those are a nice length. They really are. And especially for your miniature hooves, smaller hooves. But let me tell you, here's the deal. The longer the handle is, the more leverage you have, right? So if I'm working on a hoof that's really overgrown and I've got a lot of hoof wall to get in there and get through, I usually want to use my longer handled nippers because I want that extra thing. Now, if I'm just going through and trimming a little foot that I'm just doing a maintenance on and we don't have anything crazy, then my 10s and my 12s are very easy to work with, right? Now, if you go up to the 14 and the 15 inch, most of those students are women, but these are great for men too. Race is a type, it's a style. They call them race nippers, racetrack. And they are thinner handled, okay? And they have a little bit of a thinner bite instead of the big thick bite. Like if you look at a 14 or a 15 inch nipper that has a full head on it, you're looking at like an inch of cutting, which you think is nice. It is, but it's harder to cut and the handles are bigger and thicker. I have always used race nippers, and I really, really like them. I highly recommend them. They just fit in your hands easier. But of course, you can get what you like. But if you're going up from the 10 or 12 inch, then honestly, you should probably have a pair of 10 or 12s, and you should probably have a pair of 14 or 15s. That'd be ideal. Now, finally, you'll see, and I have some clips of me working my nippers with one hand. I do really well one-handed nipping. I learned it as an apprentice, and I learned it at a necessity because of the donkeys and how they were behaving. You often need to hold the hoof and then nip, with one hand. And you can train yourself to do that. And I have a little exercise where you can just walk around with your nippers and play with them. But you can add a spring, and I'll link. Some nippers are sold with springs, and I've heard mixed reviews about them. And then you can also buy a spring that attaches to any of your nippers, and it makes them open and close and makes one-handed nipping easier. And I really just encourage you guys to get savvy with one-handed nipping because it's going to come in handy for you. One-handed nipping comes in handy. This is called the knife. Easy peasy. It's got a pretty nice handle. It's not too long. It's not too short. Because again, the length of our handles on things affect how well we are able to use them. More leverage on a longer handle, if that makes sense. So the knife is a good brand, and I think they're about 40 bucks. They seem to be easier for me to keep sharp with my Speedy Sharp. So that's a nice one, and you'll see that one is a narrow blade, okay? And then here in the middle, we have the loop knife, and loop knives are so cool. They go alongside the frog, right? You clean out the commissures and the collateral grooves, and you can just cut back frog that may have migrated and overlapped. These are also good for removing the bars, sliding up on them. Loop knives are really great. They're incredibly sharp, and you have to be so careful with them. And they're a pain in the butt to sharpen once they lose their sharpness. But I have faith in you guys. Just because I suck at sharpening hoof knives doesn't mean that you have to. There's YouTube videos, or maybe you have someone in your life that's like a master knife sharpener, then you're probably never going to have a problem. but the loop knife is really good. And so I would say that you would have a regular hoof knife and a loop knife. And then off to the right here, you will see that this is a wide blade hoof knife. And that is not a picture of the Halverson, but my favorite wide blade is the Halverson. And you might like to have a narrow, a loop, and a wide because they're going to do different things for you. Obviously, the narrow is going to be more like getting into a specific area. You're like, okay, I want to take that right there. Whereas the wide you might come across the toe and just pull out a bunch of sole on a donkey that has grown too much sole, right? And you might be clearing your way for a nice nipper run with that. Okay, and the other thing which I forgot to put on this slide is they are right and left-handed, okay? But you know what's funny is my former apprentice, Amy, she is right-handed, but all her hoof knives are left-handed, and she has trained herself to use a left-handed hoof knife backwards, and it works beautifully for her. So, you know, don't get boxed in by right or left-handed if that is not your thing. I'm just saying they are generally made for right and left hands. Okay, you guys are going to love this next set here. A little bit about bonsai cutters. These guys are usually 8 inches and under in their size, so they fit in your hand really nice, and they're incredibly sharp. And what we're looking at here is we have the concave over here on the left. See that? You can see. So these are cool, but anytime, so over here to the right, you see that we have the flat cut. That's where the nipper just comes straight in. Then these ones over here that are concave, they're coming in like this. Okay, that has the potential to be dangerous if you're taking too deep of a cut. Okay, that is what you have to beware of when you're using them concave. Okay, because you're going to set them where you're going to clip, but then they're going to go in deeper, right? So whereas you set a flat one down, when you clip, they're just going to clip right across. You're going to go, yep, I'm clipping this much depth with my flat nippers, and then that's the cut that they make. But when you set the concave ones down, then they scoop in. Okay, that should make sense to you guys. They're an excellent tool. There's just a level of awareness that you need to have. And these are so great for nipping off loose hoof wall, chunks that have popped loose, trimming up the frog, cutting out the bars. Those little concave ones are perfect for the bars if they're super overgrown and sitting up above the hoof, which we'll be talking about. But one thing I do want you guys to realize that once your donkey's hooves are really nice and you're just maintaining them, and I would get a flat and a concave and play with different ways that you can use them, but really great for clipping off little frog flaps and whatnot. Now we'll move on to the rasp, and here you go. These are kind of, I'm going to link some other rasps because you may like to have a metal rasp. It's not that you shouldn't have one. Ever since I discovered the Cody James and even the Shinto that you see there to the left, I mean, I just questioned why I would ever touch a metal rasp ever again. And someone said, oh, because it's real pretty when you finish with them. Yeah, but if your donkey's moving around on that terrain, right, they're just smoothing their hoof wall back down anyways. So these are my top picks. We got the Cody James on the right. We've got the Littlefoot and the Diamondback. A lot of people say, well, which one should I get, Megan? And that is kind of up to you. I mean, the Littlefoot works for small feet. It does. I'm not sure why I don't love it. I have one, but I am always turning to my Diamondback. But I think that is kind of because I really tend to take my rasp and use the whole thing. And that's something because I've been doing this work for so long. I am taking that and from the bottom, and just really using the whole blade when I'm working. And so that gives me more rasp surface. But the Littlefoot's amazing too. And when you guys get going with these, and I should have put this on this slide, if you don't have a Cody James yet, get a fine blade to start. You have to start with the fine blade, and then you can upgrade to the medium or to the aggressive. And then over here, you're looking at the Shinto, and that is got a blade very, very similar to the Cody James. It's incredibly lightweight. It's, I mean, so lightweight. And it's only like about $30, and I think you should have one just so that you can play with it, especially for your smaller feet. If you end up becoming incredibly diligent and you're rasping your donkey's hooves once a week, like I hope at the end of this course, that's what your goal will be, is that you're just maintaining rasping once a week. This lighter Shinto here could end up being like your best friend. Like, I do get a little commission from my link for selling it, but like I would be talking about it whether I had that link or not. Like, this rasp changed my life. And that's one of the reasons why I was saying, you know, just because I'm picking out some of my favorite stuff, Cody James is a newer discovery. That doesn't mean that there's not some really cool other types of things out there with the nippers or the hoof knives, or you know how people are using the bonsai cutters now and getting away from hoof knives. You know, that's because we're discovering things and we're trying new things and we're like, oh, this is way better. So just always keep that in open mind, that there's just always possibilities, and tap into your own creativity. You know, does something work for you? Did you discover something and it works for you? Then that's important. It doesn't have to just be industry standard. Okay. So, and rasp, again, OMG, wear your gloves. Just do it. Okay. Think of it as PPE. You need to be wearing gloves. Okay. And finally, hoof stands, you guys. Here we go. So here's a kind of a clip of some of the most popular ones. Over to the far left, you have the old school classic. It flips. Okay, where it's setting at right now is where you could lay the hoof in like a cradle. You imagine just kicking that over. There you see the hoof stands. Okay, right here to the left, you see the very simple. If you can imagine, you just push that down and then this little end stands up, and that's the place where you put the hoof forward, and then you have your cradle. This is a very simplistic design. It's very stable, but it's limited to one height. You'll see that this is your height and this is your height. That's it. But still, you can see how incredibly easy something like this could be made. If you had a miniature donkey and you wanted to fabricate your own, you could choose your heights and just have one made. And then in the middle, we have one of the most popular hoof stands in the industry, and that is the hoof jack. It also comes in pink. So again, you know, anything that comes in colors, I'm like, yes, I love that. These are very pricey. You're going to pay like, you know, $180 to $200 for one. However, it could potentially last you forever. Hoof jack is just incredible. I've beat mine up for years. I literally have only gone through 2 hoof jacks in my entire career. And I just put them through the ringer. I even ran one over and like was able to fix it. Okay, I don't even know. It was crazy. I fixed it and then gave it to a new trimmer girl because it was funny. And then over here, you have your metal ones, which is very much that same design, but this is like a metal one. And then you guys, if you're a do-it-yourselfer, okay, Google on Pinterest or just Google on YouTube, do-it-yourself homemade hoof stand, and you will see some really interesting, really fun, creative stuff. And if you have a miniature, you may never need a hoof stand. Hoof stands aren't necessary, but they are they're great for preserving your back and just taking better care of your body. It's nice to train your donkey to use them because it's another piece of equipment that you're introducing them to, and you're building confidence. So you can teach them to put their foot in the cradle. You can teach them to bring their foot forward, etc. So have fun with that. You can spend a little or you can spend a lot. Have fun with it.